Hi, I'm Marty Smith, lead NASCAR reporter for ESPN, and I'd like to welcome you to Mobil One's live engine teardown from Las Vegas, Nevada. Over the next 45 or so minutes, we're coming to you live, straight from the Lucky Cab Company garage, located just a mile from the Las Vegas Strip. The entire Lucky Cab fleet, including the taxis you see behind me, relies solely on Mobil One synthetic motor oil to keep drivers on the road and engines running like new. I've loved cars my whole life and have spent more than 15 years covering NASCAR races. From being around cars all day, every day, I've learned that Mobil One believes that nothing beats its synthetic motor oil in overall performance. In fact, the Mobil One team is so confident in its oil's performance and the job it does protecting engines that we're going to conclude today's live broadcast by opening up the top deck and valve covers of this Lucky Cab Chevrolet Impala V6 engine. Other than standard oil changes and maintenance, this engine has never been opened before. This Lucky Cab engine has accumulated 129,079 miles in Las Vegas, Nevada, which is home to some of the most grueling driving conditions on the planet. Prior to tearing down the top deck and valve covers of our engine, we'll be joined by representatives both from ExxonMobil and from Lucky Cab. They'll tell us a little more about the Lucky Cab Company and its partnership with the Mobil One Las Vegas Field Test Program, and we'll learn how this partnership has benefited both parties. We'll also be joined on set by motor oil product performance expert Mike Panza. Mike has more than 50 years of experience in lubricant testing, working for testing organizations such as the Automotive Research Associates and Southwest Research Institute. Because 45 minutes isn't enough time for our full engine teardown, we had Mike join us a couple weeks ago in this very same garage to disassemble a nearly identical Impala Cab V6 engine. And just before we open up today's engine live, we'll watch footage of the previous teardown with Mike, comparing how closely the parts resembled like new conditions and seeing how they stacked up when it came to factors such as wear and sludge. Following today's live broadcast, we'll continue tearing down the engine and we'll post the results on Mobil One's Facebook and YouTube pages, so check back with us in a couple weeks. And of course, we want to hear from you. Our guests will be taking and answering questions throughout the live broadcast, so head to our tab on the Mobil One Facebook page and ask our experts questions about teardowns, Las Vegas driving conditions, engine performance, or the Mobil One brand in general. A special shout out to those of you watching live from the annual SEMA Aftermarket Show, which is going on right now over at the Las Vegas Convention Center. To help me really dig into this and get our live broadcast going, I'd like to bring in Roger Hood, a technical advisor from ExxonMobil's Motorsports Division, to join me on set. Good morning, Roger.
Hi, Marty.
Tell us a bit more about what you do for ExxonMobil.
Well, I provide lubricant support for race engine builders and race teams across the U.S. from NASCAR, sports car racing, and grassroots.
Tell us, too, a bit more about the purpose behind the Mobil One Las Vegas Field Test Program and the partnership you guys at Mobil have with Lucky Cab.
Well, the long-standing partnership that we have with Lucky Cab allows us to demonstrate how Mobil One can better care for your car's engine by putting it to the test and under the most adverse driving conditions. When it comes to engine performance, if you can make it in Las Vegas, you can make it anywhere.
Well, Roger, I can't wait to see the top deck of this Impala engine come off later on, but right now we actually have a feature that takes a closer look at the driving conditions in Las Vegas and its partnership with Mobil One's testing program. Let's watch.
Driving conditions in Las Vegas are harsh.
Temperatures outside vary between 95 and 123 degrees in the months of July and August.
Brutal heat in the summer, and it gets excessively cold in the winter.
I'm Joey Hicks. I'm the fleet manager for Lucky Cab. Normal routine for a Lucky Cab driver on any given day is transporting people from the airport to all the major properties on the Strip. The vehicles very seldom stay in one point at any given time. They're always on the move.
We do a lot of stop and go driving, taxi stands, trips from the airport to the hotels.
We do what we call drop and pick. It is so busy, I'm constantly on the go. The car is never turned off. Normally, as soon as someone gets out, I've got other customers waiting to get in.
Typically, I'm on the road from about 1:30 in the morning to about 1:30 in the afternoon.
I drive between 50 and 60,000 miles a year.
The vehicle comes in from a 12-hour shift. It just turns around real quick, switches driver. It may be on the property for maybe 10 minutes, and it's right back on the road for another 12-hour shift. We've always used Mobil One, and Mobil One has provided Lucky Cab the trust and the confidence that our vehicles are able to withstand all the elements.
I'm Chuck Goldman. I'm a research engineer for ExxonMobil, and as part of my job, I oversee the field testing here at Lucky Cab in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Lucky Cab was looking to form a relationship with Mobil 1 in hopes that we would be able to have a longevity in the performance of our vehicles, fewer breakdowns, less failures.
The initial goal and purpose was to take our products and evaluate them under extreme conditions. When we tear down an engine, primarily what we would look for, sludge and varnish formation in those parts of the engine where it could create a performance problem. And then the other big thing, obviously, we look for is wear. Basically, we look at the condition of the overall engine and evaluate how our product, Mobil 1, performs in service that is way beyond what the normal consumer is ever going to see in their vehicle. We typically find that the parts almost look like they're new. Almost no bearing wear, almost no varnish formation, literally no sludge. If I didn't believe in the performance of Mobil 1, I wouldn't want a fleet like Lucky Cab, or for that matter, any other fleet using our product.
I think at the end of the day, Mobil 1 provides a peace of mind for the vehicle owner.
Mobil 1 is a superior product.
It's a high-performance engine oil. The cab is always on the road. I'm always making money. I'm never down for repairs.
It assures me that my vehicle that I'm operating every day isn't going to break down. The car's reliable, the oil that I use is reliable. I'm happy, customers are happy, everyone is.
We're back live from the Lucky Cab Company in Las Vegas, Nevada. The video you just watched included an interview with Chuck Goldman, who leads ExxonMobil's testing program with Lucky Cab and was part of the teardown we did right here in this garage last month. He's the driving force behind this program and is actually at the Mobil 1 booth on the floor at SEMA right now. So if you're fortunate enough to be watching our broadcast from that booth, say hi to him and feel free to ask any questions you may have about what you're seeing here today. I'd now like to welcome in Joey Hicks, a manager at Lucky Cab, to join us and talk a bit more about operating a cab company here in Las Vegas. Hey, Joey.
Hey, how you
Good
doing,
morning,
guys?
man.
Great to be
Thanks for
here.
hanging out.
Roger.
Joey, we see there in the video that driving conditions here are adverse. Just how bad is it? Are they really that bad?
Absolutely. Vehicles in Las Vegas face some of the toughest climate conditions anywhere. And the weather in Las Vegas can climb to over 115 degrees Fahrenheit in the summer and get below freezing in the winter, which puts significant pressure on motor oils to provide protection. Paired with stop-and-go traffic and constant engine use, there are a few vehicles that are put through more of a grind than Lucky Cab taxis.
And the heat can cause conventional motor oil to oxidize, thicken, leave deposits, which can really affect a car's performance. You know, conventional oils are only designed to protect during normal conditions, and so synthetic oils can resist much higher temperatures.
Joey, how does the testing program between Lucky Cab and Mobil 1 benefit both companies?
Well, for Lucky Cab, Mobil 1 has consistently provided the fleet with unmatched engine and wear protection. And as you heard in the video, Mobil 1 gives our drivers peace of mind, allowing them to focus on the road and their jobs.
And for Mobil 1, it gives us the opportunity to showcase and to really get into the performance aspect of Mobil 1 and help us formulate oils for better performance for the consumer market.
Joey, what types of engines does Lucky Cab use in the fleet?
Lucky Cab uses many vehicles and engines in their taxi cab fleet. We use the Chevrolet Impala, Malibus, Toyota Camrys, VW Passats, and even a few BMWs. This particular engine is from a Chevrolet Impala, and specifically this engine is a 3.5-liter port fuel-injected V6.
Roger, what differentiates Mobil 1 from other oils as it pertains to engine wear protection?
Well, unlike conventional motor oils, synthetics are made from high-quality base stocks and individually selected additives to really produce reduce internal friction, enhance wear protection. Less internal friction really reduces wear, which helps an engine last longer. Our advanced Formula 1 Mobil 1 synthetic motor oil also neutralizes the acids, which really can increase wear. It shows up as higher iron concentrations of an engine. It's just a couple of the ways that Mobil 1 synthetic oil offers unsurpassed protection against wear and keeps the engine running like new.
Thanks, guys. We really appreciate your insight. It's great to learn more about the testing program and the partnership between Lucky Cab and Mobil 1. As a reminder to those of you watching, we're taking questions live from Lucky Cab, so ask our experts about engine performance, Las Vegas driving conditions, or the Lucky Cab Company. I'm going to go to our Facebook questions right now. Our first question, Joey, is for you. What is the annual mileage of the Lucky Cab taxi fleet?
Well, Lucky Cab taxi fleet accumulates about 20,000 miles every day for an average of about
What?
7.3 million miles a year.
That's crazy.
We're constantly running, constantly on the go, putting in an average of about 1,000 miles per week for each vehicle on the road.
That's extremely impressive. All those miles have to be really tough on a normal engine. Roger, the next question is for you. What's the standard drain interval that Mobil One Las Vegas field test program uses for the fleet?
Well, as a general rule, fleets such as taxi companies and police fleets and so forth in the Las Vegas area using conventional motor oil typically change their oil about every 3,000 miles or so. As part of our testing program using our synthetic oils, we push the interval out to anywhere from 2 to 5 times that.
Thank you to our viewers for sending those questions. Please keep them coming. We're monitoring them throughout the show here, and we'll ask these guys a couple more later. Joey, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Have a great day.
Absolutely.
Thanks
Thank
for
you,
having
guys.
us here at Lucky Cab. For those of you that may have just tuned in, I'm Marty Smith, and we're coming to you live from Lucky Cab's company garage here in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm with Roger Hood from Mobil One's Las Vegas Field Test Program, and in just a few short minutes, we'll be tearing down the top deck and valve covers of this Chevrolet Impala V6 engine, taken from one of the many Lucky Cabs that operate in this really harsh environment each day. This live reveal will demonstrate just how confident the Mobil One team is in its synthetic motor oil's protection and performance, as this engine has never been torn down before. But before we get to that, I'd like to now welcome in Mike Panza, our motor oil product performance expert. Mike's job is to keep us honest. Hey, Mike, good morning.
How are you? I've been in the product performance testing activity since 1962, and since that time, I've had an opportunity to work with a lot of great companies, and over that span of the 51 years, I've had 28 of the last years that I worked for myself, ran an organization, had the opportunity to do field work throughout the United States and in many countries around the world. It's been a real experience that I really enjoy, especially projects like this here in Las Vegas, working with ExxonMobil.
Excellent, Mike. We really appreciate you being here and look forward to your insight. As we've talked about throughout the broadcast, the Las Vegas taxi industry is regarded for the standard as the standard for engine oil testing due to the extreme temperatures, the constant movement, and stop-and-go patterns. What other tools do you use to help set context for cleanliness and wear when you're examining an engine?
Industry has provided us with a couple of scales, varnish and sludge scale, where the 10 is clean and 0 is being the dirtiest that it can possibly be. We'll also have some photographs of a new part and a dirty part to help us understand the comparison.
Fantastic. Let's take a couple more Facebook questions, gentlemen. Roger, first for you, what does oil viscosity mean, and what types of oils were used in both the pre-recorded engine teardown footage and what we're about to see here?
Well, simply put, oil viscosity refers to the measurement of the resistance to flow of an engine oil. So the thicker the oil, the higher the viscosity, and the slower it will flow through the engine. So it varies depending on the type of test and the type of vehicle and engine design. Lucky Cab uses a number of Mobil One engine oils, Mobil One products in their fleet, but the majority of vehicles use Mobil One 5W30 and Mobil One 0W20. Lucky Cab used 5W30 in the engines that we're going to look at today.
Great. Roger, here's another quick question for you, and this is a two-parter. First, they want to know how long a typical engine teardown takes, and second, how often does ExxonMobil tear down engines for Lucky Cab?
Well, for engines like the one we're going to look at today, usually about 2 hours, but for more involved, turbocharged, overhead cam engines, closer to 4 hours. To answer the second part, we tear down anywhere from 10 to 20 engines a year, depending on the number of oils and the number of cars we have on test.
Okay, Mike, this last question in this segment's for you. As we're about to view the footage from the teardown that was conducted on a very similar engine back on October 17th, can you describe the first things that you're looking for when you tear down an engine?
Normally when we tear down an engine, we're looking for sludge deposits. We remove the rocker covers, looking at the rocker arms and valve ducts to see if there's any indication of sludge accumulation in this area of the engine.
Well, without further ado, let's take a look at the footage from the other day. Roger, it'd be great for you to describe the different stages of the teardown that we're seeing. And Mike, you were here on set when this footage was captured. It'd be great to hear your impressions and grades for the different engine parts as they were removed from the engine. First up, let's watch the engine being pulled out of the car and inspect the front and rear valve covers and top deck, which is very similar to what is going to happen here live in just a few minutes. What do we see here, Roger?
Well, we're getting ready to take out the intake manifold and open up the valley area to show the airflow part of the engine as the air flows from one side to the other and captures the gases that are inside the engine and be relieved on the outside. It goes in through one side and out the other, and of course relieves the pressure that could compromise the seals during combustion.
And as a comparison, we have a photo of both the new and dirty front valve cover and head that the rocker assembly sits on. We'll see that in just a moment.
Here we're looking at the rocker cover. We're wiping an area in the dirtiest part of the rocker cover to see if there are any sludge deposits, and as obvious here, we have very, very light deposits of sludge. Now, we're looking at the rocker assembly and the valve deck, and again, as obvious from the photos, the sludge deposits are almost non-existent.
It's almost like what you don't see, Mike, that's there.
Right, Roger. It's the absence of deposits. Now, this rocker cover here is even more clean than the cover that we looked at previously. The sludge deposits are really non-existent there.
Not a thing on it.
You can actually see the casting marks from the casting
right,
on the top of the head.
There on the valve deck, the casting marks were quite obvious. And
in fact, there's nothing more than a slight oil film.
That's right. That's right.
Here are those photos that we were discussing just a moment ago. Why don't you guys describe for us what you see?
The parts on the right are obviously the new parts. There are no deposits. The absence of deposits referred to as 10.0, clean. On the left, we have used parts with obvious deposits of sludge in the rocker cover area and on the valve deck itself. These parts would rate out on a numeric scale somewhere between 6.8 and 7.3. It's a way of expressing cleanliness.
Not too good.
No, not really.
Okay, up next we have the timing gear and timing chain, correct?
That's right. Now we're going to take the heads off, and we're going to take all of the pulleys and the pumping area to expose the timing cover, which will expose the timing cover chain and timing gear.
Right.
Which is integral to the beginning of opening up the rest of the engine.
Right. This area of the engine is critical to the performance and characteristics of the camshaft. The cleanliness in this area is normally somewhat a suspect because we'll get a lot of accumulation, but here it's obvious there is no accumulation of sludge. There are no signs of any abnormal wear on the chain or on the gears. The sludge deposits in this area also are almost non-existent.
Of course, buildup of deposit and so forth on the teeth of the timing gears could cause, and if the chain were to stretch, it could slip a tooth and put the engine out of time, would cause quite a problem.
Definitely.
What part of the engine is torn down next, Roger?
Next, we're going to pull out the camshaft, which is one of the key elements. This needs to stay intact because it opens and closes the valves in the right sequence to keep the engine running properly, and so not having any wear is critical.
Right, and as obvious here, looking at this camshaft, there is no abnormal distress. There's no pitting, galling, scalding. There's very, very light pattern of contact, which is normal. You would expect to see on any two parts that have adjoining surfaces.
So really only seeing just the contact pattern of the two
Right.
of the two pieces
Right.
mating up, but no wear at all.
No significant wear whatsoever.
As a reminder to those of you that may have just joined us, we're live from the Lucky Cab Company in Las Vegas, Nevada. Our team tore down an entire engine on October 17th, an engine that had used Mobil 1 synthetic motor oil for its entire service life at Lucky. We're inspecting each part of that engine with the help of independent motor oil expert Mike Panza and ExxonMobil's Roger Hood. All right, we've looked at the top deck and valve covers, the timing gear, timing chain, and camshaft. What's the next stage, guys?
Next, we're going to take the oil pan off, and this is very, very critical. This is where the oil resides through the entire oil change interval, and generally sludge will be built up in this area. This is where a lot will happen because this is where it all settles out.
Right. Normally you would expect if you're going to be sludge in an engine, it would accumulate in this area. However, looking at this particular part, we see only some oil, which is normal. That is an oil pan. We wiped the oil pan to see if there was any deposits below the oil, and there was none. It is obviously clean.
The only thing I see are some casting marks in there, just a little bit of metal in the bottom, and normally you'd see the sludge would hang onto those pieces. There doesn't seem to be anything there.
Right. These are just casting marks that has nothing to do with the oil performance or oil quality.
You're like a proud papa right now.
You're right.
You're happy as you can be. What's next, guys?
Next, we're going to expose the oil screen and look at the oil pickup. And this is a key because this is where the oil gets pumped up into the engine. If this is restricted or covered it at all, the oil is not going to flow up into the engine, much like the blood in a human body. Without the proper circulation, you have a little bit of a problem.
That's right. Restriction is not good in your heart, and it's not good in your engine. The oil pump is the heart of the engine.
And here, gentlemen, we have a photo of a new and dirty oil screen, just for context for the viewer. Tell us what you guys see here.
On the right, we have a new oil pump and screen that's obvious. There is no restriction of flow in the new part. The other oil pump is obvious, very dark deposits and some restriction in the screen itself.
Okay, Roger, what's next?
Next, we're going to take a look at the main and the thrust bearings, which are commonly known as the bottom end, which everything runs from, everything's connected to, and these are very, very critical areas because this is where all the pressure is on the crankshaft during combustion, during the pressure of all the combustion.
During the power stroke, yes.
Yep.
This first main bearing that we removed is obvious. There is no significant distress or wear. There is a small contact pattern that is normal. The rest of the bearing, the other 90% looks like new. This thrust bearing is the center of the crankshaft area. It absorbs the forward and backward thrust of the crankshaft in operation. The bearing itself has no significant wear, no distress. Its appearance is like new. There's no side wear on the thrust, which is an indication of oil quality and engine performance.
Well, gee, Mike, looking at those bearings, would you put those back in the engine and run it again?
I would, definitely.
They look like
they look like new.
Yeah.
And
again, that goes back to the whole Mobil 1 idea of you keep the engine running like new.
it does look like new.
For the last step of the tear down, which part of the engine will we look at, Roger?
Now we're going to take the pistons and the bores out of the block and see what Mike has to say about this.
Well, this first piston coming out, we're looking at the boss area of the piston, and now we're looking into the bores themselves. So we're looking for the honing marks remaining in position of the cylinders. Those honing marks are critical to controlling oil consumption and keeping the rings oiled, functioning, and free. We also are looking here at the boss area of the piston. We do not evaluate deposits on the skirt side of the piston, this side of the piston, which is coated and makes it impossible to really evaluate deposits.
And what about the rings?
The rings here, we're checking to see if they are free. If they rotate 360 degrees, they're obviously free and of no restriction. The undercrown is a critical part of the engine to indicate oil quality, and it is obvious there are no deposits of any significance in that area.
And of course, the undercrown is where a lot of heat is generated, so not having any deposits under there, Mobil 1's protecting against deposit buildup under the undercrowns, which is critical for heat dissipation and cooling.
Right, definitely.
Once again, we have a photo here of a new and dirty piston, just for viewer context. Mike, tell us what you see.
Well, the piston on the right is obvious. It's the new piston. There is no deposits. The piston on the left is obviously a used piston with very heavy deposits in the boss area. Those deposits would be evaluated in the 3.5 to 4 range on the numeric scale.
Well done, boys. That was a lot of ground to cover in just a few minutes. We really appreciate your insight. Mike, what are your overall impressions of the engine after tearing it down, keeping in mind that that engine had 120,187 miles and that it was being driven as a cab in such severe conditions as we see in Las Vegas?
Well, I think that's the most impressive thing, Marty. The conditions in which the cab operated for 129,000 odd miles. The hardware looks excellent. There's no obvious wear. There's no really significant sludge deposits. Overall, parts look excellent.
It's got to make you happy.
Very.
How many more miles would you expect this engine to be able to run, Mike?
I would expect it to get at least 100,000, maintained in the condition that it's been maintained so far.
All right, we're going to take our last Facebook question of the day, and Mike, it's for you. Before we tear down the top deck of the engine, Mike, this viewer would love to know, if an oil not recommended for the vehicle had been used in that engine that we just saw torn down, what would that engine be expected to look like from your expert opinion?
Well, not knowing all the details, I'd say it would probably look something similar to the parts on the left with the sludge and deposits that we saw there. If it's not meant to be in the engine, then you can't expect performance like Mobil 1.
Excellent. All right, well, now it's time for the moment you've all been waiting for. Behind me is a General Motors engine from a Chevrolet Impala taken from one of the Lucky Cab fleets. Specifically, it's a 3.5-liter port fuel-injected V6 engine with 120,079 miles on it. It's used Mobil 1 5W30 synthetic motor oil for its entire service life at Lucky Cab. As we've talked about earlier in the broadcast, this live engine teardown will consist of the front and rear valve covers along with the top deck rocker assemblies. It is a great opportunity to showcase the superior protection that Mobil 1 provides all vehicles, especially ones that are put through such grueling conditions like the fleet of Lucky Cab taxis experiences here in Las Vegas. Mobil 1 is so confident in the performance and protection of its synthetic motor oil that we're now going to open and evaluate the top deck sight unseen. To help us do that, Joey and Jose from Lucky Cab are going to help us. Come on in, gentlemen. Do your thing, boys. Open her up.
And right now we're going to take the rocker cover off from the
This side of the engine?
this side of the engine, right?
Hard to see. Johnny will hand this to Mike. Mike, what do you see there?
There are obviously no deposits. Going to wipe a spot, what we consider a dirty spot, to see if there are any sludge deposits in this area. We see minor deposits, but in the other areas, there's just what we call trace amounts, which would end up in the 9.5 to 9.7 range.
So when you're looking at a 10 being a clean part, this is really no more than an oil film, just barely discerniable. I mean, if you're looking at tenths of a number, you're looking
You're still getting an A when I was in school.
This is a
Right.
This is a plus.
Yeah.
This is very good. Yes, and then
What do we
let's look
see
at the,
here?
let's look at the valve deck.
looking at the valve deck and rocker arms, again, there is no obvious deposits.
There's nothing coming off at
Right,
all.
there's nothing wiping off, so we obviously, again, are in the 9.5 to 9.7. The valve rocker covers themselves probably 9.7, 9.8. So
Fantastic.
It's very,
All right.
very clean.
Almost as clean as you can get. Let's spin
Let's
it
look
around.
at the other side, gentlemen. Spin it around for us. Jose will remove the cover here.
So that other one was the dirty side. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that other side.
It's the other side,
Yeah.
All right, Johnny, hand that over to Mike.
Thank
Mike,
you,
tell
John.
us what you see.
Again, there's not much to look at here. There is possibly a trace of deposit, but again, I'll try to make a mark. And here, you're not even making a mark. Dirty part of the engine.
Mike, show that to the camera if you would. And
Sure,
let those guys zoom in on that so they can see really well.
We wiped it here and wiped it here, and it's only legible right here in the dirtiest part of the rocker cover that you have any deposits at all, and that, as Roger can confirm, is a 9.7, 9.8. This other area is like 9.9 in my opinion.
Yeah.
And 10 is clean.
And again, I mean, we're talking, the area of this scale is from 1 or 0 to 10. We're talking in the area of the top
99%.
0.5 of saying that it can't be clean because it's not new.
Right.
So we have to say it's been run. So this is as clean as it gets without being a new part.
That's right.
Yeah. So
it doesn't get cleaner.
no. So it's more like again, what we're not seeing is as important as what we're looking for. There's just nothing there. There's nothing to look at.
Right. There's nothing here. There's nothing to look at, and I think that's the way to describe it. There's
So, Mike,
nothing.
And how about the top deck and the rockers?
Top deck. The top deck is as clean, if not cleaner, than the rocker cover, and the rocker arms are even cleaner yet.
And the valve deck, I mean, there's nothing coming off on the finger at all. There's no, in fact, you can even see the sand casting marks in the
Right.
head. So normally, when even a thicker oil film, you would at least see the sand casting marks filled up, but there's nothing there. It's absolutely dry.
120,000 plus miles. What's your overall impression of what you see here?
It's great.
Put it back in and let it go.
I would. No, without a doubt, I would put this engine back together and let it
You guys
run.
have more work to do here. I'm going to go ahead and head over here. You guys do what you're doing. Well, there you have it, folks.
I mean, there ain't even a
We appreciate you guys so much for being here today. I know that these guys back here have much more to handle in terms of tearing down the engine behind me, and we'll let them get to that. For those of you watching, be sure to check Mobil One's Facebook and YouTube channels on November 22nd to see a full recap video of what Mike and Roger find as they continue to further dive into this engine. Thanks for watching today as we explored the brutal driving conditions that make up the Las Vegas landscape and looked closely at two taxi engines that rely on the performance and protection of Mobil One synthetic motor oil to keep them running just like new. Also, a huge thank you to the Lucky Cab Company for allowing us to come in today and allowing you in to their office live in the middle of their garage. And thanks to our guests, Joey Hicks, Mike Panza, Roger Hood, and all of those watching at the Mobil One SEMA booth. For Mobil One, I'm Marty Smith. Have a great day. Thanks for hanging out.